Now, Dick Morris went on Stankfield and said Tucker Carlson is wrong on Putin. And I'm curious to see, I noticed that this clip was playing. I saw the phrase written out, but I haven't watched it. And we may have a broken clock moment with Dick Morris, but I'm curious how Stankfield will take this, because Stankfield, who still has his Who Framed Roger Rabbit haircut. Yeah, there he is. Same do. All right, just a little wind blown. Good times. That Stankfield is going to have to push back on this, because it might be in the inference may be allowed for, or an implication thereof might happen, that Joe Biden might actually be in the right in this.
Welcome back, everyone. We continue our coverage of the invasion of Ukraine by Russia, something I told you would happen right
Yes, so did Joe Biden, and you criticized him for it.
After the Olympics. There are many reasons why all of us really should be concerned about this. It matters to all of you. I'll tell you why. Did you see what the markets have been doing? Tanking.
Yeah, that's what it is. Like, it matters to you because the markets will tank. Now, granted, all of Stankfield's friends are buying the dip right now.
Markets don't like global uncertainty, and that is...
Yes, and that's our fault, and therefore the market collapse is Biden's fault, because he's in charge of the uncertainty. If they'd have just let Russia have Ukraine, it would be certain that Russia had Ukraine.
Exactly
and the
what
markets
you
would
get
love
when
that.
a tyrant is allowed to have free reign. Your retirement accounts are going to go into the toilet. Oil prices...
Yes, if what? So again, if Vladimir Putin is allowed to have free reign, your retirement fund is going to go in the toilet. Therefore, Biden should just let him have free reign.
Also up. That will hit you even worse than it already is. And when oil goes up, the cost of everything rises. You thought inflation is bad now. Thanks to a weak Joe Biden and a bully Vladimir Putin, it's only going to get worse.
Yeah, we don't have inflation because of monetary supply. We have inflation because of supply shock, and the cost of energy going up to the price it was in 2014. We've obviously weathered that before. It's not going to crash the economy, and we're facing deflationary pressures on every aspect of like from food to consumer goods over the course of the summer. So this will shake out
Trump
the middle.
had Putin in check because Putin had no idea what Trump might do militarily.
No, Trump, quote unquote, had Putin in check because he was going to hand him Ukraine. He had already told him he would recognize Crimea, these areas, the Donbass and Luhansk areas. He was going to recognize those and at the G7. So Putin thought, well, he'll win the second time because I'll help him out with my phony hard drive bullshit. And unfortunately for him, Giuliani was the head of the gang that couldn't shoot straight and fucked up the whole thing. And because of COVID, Trump who doesn't know his ass from his elbow when it comes to a genuine response, could have skated into re-election if he just didn't fuck it up. But he was that big a loser and he lost. And so now Putin, who is facing demographic collapse in Russia and a shrinking military, is either going to have to act militarily to take it now, or he'll never get another chance.
Worked. So when I see...
He's also a racist and a lunatic, and sees this as his only, the essence of the Putin doctrine.
Conservatives like Tucker Carlson, look, I have great respect for the man, I do, so don't get mad at me for saying this.
No, I doubt I'll get mad at you for, I'll get mad at you for saying you have great respect for the man, because I don't believe you. I think he's a competitor and you fucking hate him because of the money he makes and you think you do a better show than he does. But also, why? What's that respect based on? His great achievements as a third generation rich asshole?
But when he declares things like this, I've got to call it out as wrong for all of you and your friends.
I should say, for the record, I'm totally opposed to these sanctions, and I don't think that we should be at war with Russia. And I think we should probably take the side of Russia if we have to choose between Russia and Ukraine. That is my view. But
by the way, man, he was chunky in 2019.
You hear Jim Jordan there? He was going to say but, because there is a lot of buts, okay?
Yes, that's true. There is a lot of buts. By the way, I'm glad he said that in 2019, but you've been sucking his butt since then, even though his position hasn't changed at all. But tell me again, if you totally respect.
None of this is a joking matter. I'm told he later said he was kidding about that. Didn't sound like.
No, he wasn't kidding. No, you weren't told that. Fuck off.
Here to help me make sense of all of this is the host of Dick Morris Democracy here on Newsmax, former advisor to.
Well, that's just sad. If you're calling on Dick Morris to help you make sense of things.
Trump and Clinton, Dick Morris.
I guess Devin Nunes was busy launching Troot.
Here, Dick, what do you make of that comment from Tucker Carlson?
You know, George Santana, the historian, said those who don't learn the lessons of history are doomed to repeat it. He didn't mean in school. He meant in real life. And if you don't learn the lessons, that if you let a guy like Hitler or a guy like Putin gobble up territory after territory, he's not going to stop until you make him stop.
Yeah, but don't threaten Tucker Carlson with a good time. You're confused for a second on this route alone. Tucker is comfortable with the idea of a guy like Hitler or Vladimir Putin gobbling up territory. Tucker, as a rich asshole, thinks he's going to be on the inside track. That whatever negative happens ain't going to happen to him.
And Putin is bent on rebuilding the old Soviet Union, enslaving 100 million people again. And those who say it's not our problem are just so wrong. I mean, weren't you awake during the Cold War? Didn't you see Ronald Reagan battling to get that wall turned down and the people of Eastern Europe liberated? And don't you get that there's a...
Yeah, but again, Tucker Carlson is not convinced that that was a positive.
Well, coalition here against us of China, Russia, and Iran. If Russia gets away with this, the next step is China invades Taiwan. If China invades Taiwan and gets away with it, the next step is an Iranian nuclear weapon. And how would you like that kind of a world, Mr. Carlson?
He would like it. He would, because in his mind, Russia would run the place. China would effectively be the army and the production factory floor of that world, and it would be run by rich white assholes from New York.
Yeah. Especially if you're Israel, for crying out loud, the one true ally
Or
in the
the
Middle East
United
to bring some
States.
stability to
Yeah.
all of this. Of course, or the United States for all of this. Look, I'm going to play one more clip. Everybody gets mad at me for going. I am not, folks, going after Tucker Carlson. I think it's a.
Yes, you are. Say you are. Say what he said was fucked up and go after him. You fucking coward. Like, this is so lazy. Criticize him. I thought we were the snowflakes. Right? Can you imagine if I was on it like, look, I have a lot of respect for Chuck Todd, but sometimes I'm not saying it's bad, but get the fuck out of here.
Important
If he
to point
steps
out
that far off the
differences
res,
here. He
bite
has a
me.
great voice for conservatism, but on this, he's dead
Based on what?
wrong. Let me play this clip, shot number 12, about NATO, and I'm just confused at what he thinks here. Watch this.
So at this point, NATO exists primarily to torment Vladimir Putin, who, whatever his many faults, has no intention of invading Western Europe.
Which is bullshit, because Ukraine is part of Western Europe. Ukraine is not Russian territory. It's part of Western Europe. That's exactly what he's fucking doing.
Putin does not want Belgium He just wants to keep his western border secure.
Yes, by invading Western Europe in terms of Ukraine. And all right.
Yeah.
Morris, I'll give it to you.
Western border secure, that's just what Hitler said. Look, NATO has saved us from Russian aggression for 70 years. But for NATO, France and Britain would long ago, well, not to say Germany, would long ago have fallen to Russia, and we would be faced with one great big iron curtain across Europe. And NATO exists as a defensive alliance to stop somebody from taking over one of the...
Yes, and that's why Trump was against it. That is exactly why Trump was against it, because the whole idea that he was in Putin's pocket the entire fucking time gets more and more clear as you look at his attitude towards NATO and his attitude towards Ukraine. And that he was going to help him in a second term salami slice his way into Europe. That's what this is for.
And if it's a thorn in Putin's side, it's a thorn in his side on the way to a new invasion. Because if he sat at home and stopped invading other countries, NATO would not be a problem.
Yeah. Look, President Trump got tough on NATO. NATO had its...
Yeah, he got tough on it. He basically undermined it at every turn. You guys got to pay some stuff. We're not going to pay anything. You pay some stuff. Meanwhile, he's literally talking about dissolving it and the lack of necessity for it.
Problems, there's no doubt about it. But he made the rest of these NATO ally countries pay their fair share, and Russia listened. Dick Morris, the last word, if you can, about 10, 15 seconds.
Well, I think that we are in the middle of a catastrophe now in Russian aggression. And those who minimize it or excuse it and say Ukraine has its problems too are doing a vast disservice to freedom and trampling on the legacy of President Reagan.
Yeah, well, you're saying that like that's not the point. Tucker Carlson and all those guys are against that legacy. They thought it was a mistake. They're still pissed Hitler lost the war. Now their only hope for a giant white ethno-state is Russia. Man. But again, like what do you expect from these dudes? From Tucker?